All right, I'm here with Kaiser Larsen, VP Product Marketing, Data and Analytics at SAP. I'm Kate Strachnyi from DATAcated. Pleasure to chat with you.
You as well.
So, Kaiser, when we think about a data-first or data-driven culture, what role do the executives play in this situation?
For me, I think they really drive from a top-down standpoint. What's the collaboration going to look like between different parts of the business? How is the office of the CIO or the CDO going to interact with the CMO? Who's going to have a say in what kind of technologies that we adopt? What are the principles that we want to put into practice across the company? And I think it starts for me as modeling as an executive of how they use data, right? Do they use data as a tool in making the decisions that they have? Are they self-serving? Are they jumping into the dashboard that's been created for them? Are they asking questions that drill down into the specifics of the data? Or are they making gut decisions, right?
Yeah.
Or running off on something that they think is a tangent that's important, but rather sticking to the data that's been provided for them, that's been vetted, and has been shown to be trusted as well.
So what happens when, let's say, the CEO of an organization, he or she wants to be data-driven, but refuses to use the dashboards and makes their decisions because they've been there for 25 years and they know this better than anyone, so they don't need a dashboard to do their job?
That's a fun situation to be in, right?
I think it happens more than we'd like to admit.
It happens a lot. It happens
Yeah.
a lot, and everyone's going through a different stage in their transformation.
Yeah.
Every company is. Some folks are all the way up there on the maturity model of we're using predictive analytics to drive our decisions. And other folks are just still down in the descriptive area of we understand how much sales we've made. We understand how many sales we've made by region. But I'd say when that's happening is being able to, whether you're, maybe let's say you're a business analyst and you're being asked to provide specifics to the executives, and they're not really looking at the dashboard or doing whatever they may, is not just providing, hey, here's a dashboard that you can drill down to and maybe do some filters and some drill downs and see what's going on, but connecting the dots for them.
Yeah.
Help them connect the dots. Help them see how one insight is directly connected to another. Help them see how one insight that was provided last year is now back again. And that empirically, this is true. This is happening as a pattern, but also it's true in the data. Because sometimes as executives, they're so busy, right? They're not going to say, hey, loved your dashboard, Kaiser. This is amazing. Like, let's
Great
look at this a
job.
little bit more again. I really like the colors too. But they sometimes need help connecting the dots across organizations, across data, in data insights, rather than here's an insight.
Right.
Take it as you wish.
And I've seen trust play a big role in this, right? So we've
Yeah.
built dashboards for executives because they asked for it, right? To start with that, we put in the effort, then they see the dashboard and one decimal is off, right? Something is off. So they're like, okay, I don't want the dashboard, give me the raw data, or just write me an email, or going back to my old ways. So how do we maybe focus on building that trust to begin with and then maintaining that trust?
I'd say, one, make sure that you don't focus on the minutia.
Yeah.
When you're jumping into that executive, don't try and wow or get into anything crazy. Provide the basics and provide them incredibly well. Don't jump into the minutia of, and right here you might see here there was a little bit of an outlier, but we used this specific scatter plot that took out the outlier, and now the average is a little bit more to the mean. Don't get into the minutia here. But fine, here's the insights that we found. They're vetted, they're true. This is the data source that it comes from. These are the other stakeholders that we've talked to that have said, this is great, this is trusted, it looks like this is exactly, it's feeding into our other data sources exactly as it should. This is real, live, up-to-date data, looks great. So I'd say don't focus on the minutia, and then when you provide the basics, be extraordinary at it.
Yeah. So let's say we've succeeded. The executive team is data-driven. They're thinking data first. They're making all their business decisions with data. But the rest of the organization maybe is not there yet. They're not data literate. They don't have the right training. So what are some of the first steps that an organization can take to level up their data literacy skills?
I really believe patience is really important in this sense, because it can be frustrated, and I've been there before as well. I was a data analyst years ago. I create these amazing dashboards. I send them out, and then maybe some other folks on my team Why do I need this? I know what I want for my marketing funnel. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm going to create. I don't need to hear this or that. And so it takes time to get folks to change ways. So I'd say as an executive or as a leader, and you're seeing data literacy isn't where you want it to be, then don't just expect things are going to change overnight, because data is important. You've got to sit down. You've got to sit down with folks, and you've got to provide them skilling, answer their questions, get into it with them hands-on. Something that I did when I was in that role years ago is be a buddy.
Yeah.
You don't understand the dashboard. You don't know how to drill down. You don't know how to put this filter on. You don't know how to change the array that we're using. Let me jump into and show you. You don't need to know all that, but you can be useful, and it can be useful to you. And I'll answer all your questions. And that right there, and then getting people to take that step of, oh, I need an insight. I need to understand something, and making them go, oh, I'm going to go to that dashboard, or I'm going to go to that analytics tool. Yep. You've gotten over the biggest hurdle of all.
Absolutely. I actually faced this in one of my prior careers where I was an insights strategy manager in analytics. And part of my role was evangelizing a tool. Well, it wasn't. It was really the insight strategy, but I ended up evangelizing the tool because we were living in Excel dashboards. Yeah. And whenever you got new data, you're like copy pasting, and so many things would just break and go wrong, and pivot tables. So what I would do is what you said, hand holding, right? Yes. Sitting down and saying, okay, this is how it works, showing them, and then say, okay, now your turn. Yeah. Drag and drop, see what happens. And then that aha moment was like, this was so much easier. They're so excited. Yeah. And then the other department sees it, and they're like, we want what they have, and it's sort of this wildfire.
Contagious. Yeah. It is, and that's why I said patience is really important. Yeah. Because as an executive, whatever it may be, we're so accepted that data is how we make our decisions. But then we don't take the time to sit down and be the buddies, do the hands-on help to help people get over that change, because it's a mental shift. It really is. And if you weren't natively brought into that as you're going into a role, then you have to help people make that shift. Right.
And going back to data literacy for a minute, do you think that everyone in an organization, let's say they have 10,000 people, do they all have to be at the same level of data literacy?
I don't think so. I think from a business standpoint, from an IT standpoint, there's definitely going to be different levels of literacy, 100%. From an executive standpoint to an IC that maybe needs to have a specialty. I think you'll be along the maturity model in much different ways. But as an organization, it's beneficial to make sure what's our baseline. Right. What do we need everybody to be at? And then if people are dispersed across that in different areas, that's fine. That's great for us. But defining that baseline of what do we need everybody to understand? Okay, we want everybody to know that when you're looking for telemetry data to understand the customers, you go here. Right. When you're sharing it with people and you want to share it with your organization in a secure way, you do it in this way. So to answer your question, no. I think they can be across the maturity model, but executives, leaders, do have to define what's our baseline. Mm-hmm. And how would they assess, well, going back to that 10,000 people organization, how can we say we're here versus like we want to be here, or we need to go up another 10%? Right. One way would be, being data-driven, right? Being able to look at the telemetry of the tools that you have, right? Can we look and see how many people are correctly sharing a data product in the way that we want them to? Can we see how many people have downloaded and are implementing that data product and using it in their data models and their transformations? Maybe it's a generative AI tool or some kind of natural language item as well. Can we see how many natural language queries are going in there from us internally? Yeah. And thinking of it that way of, oh, wow, it's increasing month over month over month. That is very basic, but right there, it's the practice is starting. Yeah. People are getting into the tool, using the tools in the ways that they should. I would start there, right? Is the usage happening? Because if it's not, it doesn't matter if you go and provide all this qualification criteria of what you need to know across the business. Right. And
test them. Hey, do you know what this means?
When you share a data product, who's supposed to be the domain owner? What space and admin is it supposed to be under? Doesn't matter if they're not even signed up and jumping in the tool.
Yes, that's true. And you mentioned having people access the tool, access the software, access the data, right? So the topic of data democratization, sort of data for all. you get the data,
Yeah.
you get the data, and you get the data. So how does that work if they're not data literate, right? It's kind of like the chicken or the egg. We want to give people the data, but they might try to use it and
Right.
not understand it. They might not understand it and not try to use it, right? There's all these scenarios. So how do we balance that shift of letting folks get the data, maybe without them being fully trained on it? And what are some risks that come along with that?
For me, data literacy should be the main goal that you want to get to first.
Right.
If you do establish a good baseline of data literacy, then the democratization of data is exciting.
Right.
People will opt in.
They'll probably ask for it,
they'll-
right? Hey,
yes,
more data.
they'll be raising their hand, or hey, I use this dashboard. Hey, can you send me that link as well? But if they're not data literate, it's not in my world.
Yeah.
Why am I going to care about it? So if I'm a leader, if I'm leading an organization, it's first getting that data literacy to happen first before I get down to the how are we properly securing and governing and sharing data products and data dashboards across the organization? How are we getting people to use them? It's getting them interested first and seeing the next thing is how does it impact their role?
Right.
How does it directly impact your role and amplify your intelligence in the role that you're in, and showing them that data and being able to self-serve to data is a force multiplier.
Yeah.
It doesn't diminish you at all. And even if you're getting a little bit better at it, but you don't think that you're incredibly data literate, it's still, you increase 1% better in that area, it made you 1% better in your job.
Right, and then when we think about access to data, we think about security, regulation, making sure the right people are seeing the right data, and some people are not seeing the data they're
Right.
not supposed to see. So can you talk about the role of data fabric in the world of security?
Yes, totally. For a data fabric, when you're creating an abstracted harmonization layer across, maybe it's different hyperscalers, maybe it's also on-premises systems that you're using, or even other point solution technologies that you're bringing in, and then all the different type of data sources that you're bringing up to this semantically rich harmonization layer. It's really nice to go, oh, I have a single place now where I'm harmonizing, blending all of this data. I can govern it from there and make sure that the governance, the security trickles down. Right. So one really great way to do that is it's the concept that we call spaces. And in SAP DataSphere, you have this concept called spaces, where I can make sure that all of my data is in one place, and that the transformations of that data trickles down to anybody that's using it as well, but that they can cut up the pie in the ways that they want to, that apply to them. So if I'm in marketing and I just want to understand my marketing funnel data, how many marketing qualified leads I have, how many touch points does it take to qualify someone to the next lead, whatever that may be, then I just want to look at that marketing data. And I can go into that space and create a marketing space that's in that same pie, but it inherits all the security, access control, compliance, and governance from that space that was created at the very top. Right? And that's a great way to put the foundation in place so that other people can self-serve and not be worried of who's accessing the data, who's saving it, etc.
Right, and I'm sure in your role you've seen a lot of use cases of this in real life. Can you talk about your favorite use case?
I'd say that's one right there is when you have maybe let's say a marketing person that wants to do a specific analytics on a promotion.
Right.
How's this promotion doing well? How's it performing in this region compared to that region? I don't want my data analyst that's over in North America to be seeing specific data that's happening over in Western Europe from a compliance standpoint, right? So that space that I have, that I've created in DataSphere that allows me to inherit all those security access controls, I can put that in there to make sure data analysts that are going in North America want to see how's this promotion going, who's used it, who hasn't used it, what targeted leads have we gone after that maybe got a little bit close but then backed out, what segments are converting at a higher clip. Is there other reasons why folks in this specific region in North America aren't using our new promotion that we have? Well, yes, it's holiday season. Bring in some holiday data. Or yes, there's a natural disaster that's maybe happening in a certain area. Bring in weather data. And I can be in that specific space and do all that work on that promotion according to my region of what matters to me. That's one use case that's just simple to understand how a promotion is performing across multiple different types of data. But as a data analyst, for me to be able to come back to a business a user and a business stakeholder and say, this is exactly how your promotion's doing, and I think if you made these few changes, you would see better qualification and better conversion, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't necessarily have to centralize all that data, right? You can, that's the beauty of the data fabric.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kaiser.
You too. Thank you.